No one expected the tension to arrive the way it did. It didn't start with shouting. It didn't start with accusations. It started with a laugh. The studio lights were warm, the tone light, the kind of setting where sharp comments were usually brushed off as humor. Joy Behar leaned back in her chair, smiling as she finished a line meant to land as a joke. A few people chuckled. The moment seemed designed to pass quickly, another throwaway remark in a fast-moving segment. But Karoline Leavitt didn't smile. She didn't interrupt right away either. She sat still, eyes focused, letting the sound of the laughter fade completely. That pause changed everything. The room felt different once the noise stopped, like someone had closed a door without warning. "Can I respond to that?" Karoline asked calmly. The moderator hesitated for half a second, then nodded. Karoline leaned forward slightly, her voice steady but unmistakably firm. "You know, it's easy to laugh when you think the people you're talking about aren't in the room. It's even easier when you assume they won't push back." Joy's expression shifted, still composed but alert now. "I'm not here to be humorless," Karoline continued. "But there's a line between comedy and contempt. And you just crossed it." The audience went quiet. Not the polite kind of quiet, the kind where people stop moving altogether. Joy tried to wave it off. "Oh, come on. It was clearly—" "No," Karoline cut in, not raising her voice. "It was clearly meant to dismiss people instead of engaging with them, and that's exactly the problem." A camera angle changed. Producers sensed it. This wasn't a debate anymore. It was a moment. Karoline didn't attack. She didn't insult. She did something more unsettling. She reframed the entire exchange. "When you mock people," she said, "you're telling them they don't deserve to be taken seriously. And if you truly believe in open conversation, you don't get to laugh your way out of accountability." Joy straightened in her chair. The smile was gone now. The moderator glanced at the clock, but no one moved to cut the segment. The tension was too real. Karoline finished with a single sentence, measured and direct. "Stop mocking people and start answering them." The room stayed silent for a beat longer than usual, and everyone watching knew this was only the beginning. Joy Behar didn't respond right away. For a split second, she looked toward the moderator, as if expecting the moment to be redirected, smoothed over, softened, packaged back into something safe. That usually worked. It always had. This time, it didn't. The silence stretched just long enough to feel uncomfortable. Cameras lingered. The audience waited. Joy finally laughed again, but it wasn't the same laugh as before. It was shorter, tighter. "Oh, please," she said. "We're allowed to joke. That's what this show does." Karoline nodded once, almost thoughtfully. "Joking isn't the issue," she replied. "Who you're joking about, and why, that's the issue." Joy's eyebrows lifted. "So now we're policing humor?" "No," Karoline said evenly. "We're examining it." That word, examining, hung in the air. It shifted the tone from entertainment to scrutiny, from performance to accountability. Karoline continued, her voice calm but precise. "When humor punches down, it stops being humor. It becomes a shield, a way to avoid actually defending what you believe." A murmur moved through the audience. Not applause, recognition. Joy leaned forward now. "You're taking this way too seriously." "That's because people take being talked about seriously," Karoline replied. "Especially when they don't have a microphone." The moderator cleared his throat, attempting to regain control. "Let's keep this respectful." "I am being respectful," Karoline said, turning slightly toward him. "I'm just not pretending this was harmless." Joy crossed her arms. "You're reading intent into a joke." "No," Karoline said. "I'm reading impact." That landed. Joy opened her mouth, closed it, then tried a different approach. "So what? You want everyone on television to walk on eggshells?" Karoline shook her head. I want people on television to stand behind what they say when the laughter stops. Another pause, this one heavier. Joy glanced toward the audience, searching for support, but the room didn't move the way it had earlier. The energy had shifted. People weren't choosing sides yet, but they were listening differently. Karoline sensed it. This isn't about you and me, she said. It's about a culture where dismissing people with a laugh has become easier than engaging them with honesty. Joy exhaled sharply. That's your opinion. Yes, Karoline replied. And today, you made it relevant. The moderator checked the clock again. The segment was technically over, but no one was rushing to end it now. Because something had changed. The jokes were gone, the smiles had faded, and the conversation had only just begun. When the show cut to commercial, the room didn't relax. There was no chatter, no quick jokes tossed between hosts the way there usually were. Producers whispered. Assistants hovered just off camera. The energy felt tight, controlled, like everyone knew they'd crossed into territory the show didn't usually visit. When the cameras came back on, Joy Behar adjusted in her chair and smiled again. But this time, the smile didn't reach her eyes. Let's move on, the moderator said quickly, trying to reset the tone. Karoline, you've been outspoken about media bias. Joy jumped in before he could finish. Of course she has, she said lightly. That's the brand now, right? Victimhood as content. A few nervous laughs rippled through the audience, not as strong as before, not confident. Karoline didn't interrupt. She waited. Then she spoke. See? That right there, she said. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Joy tilted her head. What? I'm just making an observation. No, Karoline replied. You're dismissing an argument without addressing it, and you're doing it with a joke so you don't have to defend your position. Joy's smile stiffened. You're assuming I have to defend myself to you. Karoline nodded. You don't. But when you speak to millions of people every day, you do have a responsibility to explain why you believe what you believe. The studio grew quiet again. Even the moderator leaned back slightly, letting the exchange play out. Joy scoffed. This is a comedy show. And yet, Karoline said calmly, you discuss politics more than most news programs. That line landed harder than expected. Joy opened her mouth, paused, then tried to pivot. So what? You think people tune in here for policy debates? No, Karoline answered. They tune in for confidence, for certainty, for someone who sounds like they know what they're talking about. She leaned forward slightly now, not aggressive, just deliberate. And when that certainty comes wrapped in mockery instead of facts, people absorb the attitude without questioning the substance. A few audience members nodded. Subtle, unplanned, Joy noticed. You really think viewers are that easily manipulated? She asked. Karoline didn't hesitate. I think viewers trust you, and trust carries weight, whether you acknowledge it or not. For the first time, Joy didn't have a quick comeback. She glanced at the moderator again, but he didn't jump in. The silence stretched. Karoline broke it gently. I'm not asking you to agree with me. I'm asking you to stand behind your words without hiding behind laughter. Joy shifted in her seat. And if I don't? Karoline shrugged slightly. Then the audience gets to decide whether the jokes are covering up something thinner than they sound. The camera cut briefly to the crowd. No laughter, no applause, just attention. For a show built on punchlines, it was a dangerous place to be. No laugh track, no easy exits, and Joy Behar could feel it. Joy tried to reclaim the rhythm. She laughed first, short, sharp, almost rehearsed. Wow, she said, shaking her head. That's a lot of moral authority for someone who hasn't been doing this very long. A familiar move. Experience over substance. Tenure over argument. The audience reacted out of habit this time. Soft laughter, delayed, uncertain. Karoline didn't flinch. "You're right," she said. "I haven't been doing this as long as you." Joy leaned back, sensing an opening. "Exactly. But I've been paying attention," Karoline continued. "And sometimes that matters more than seniority." The laughter died mid-breath. Joy narrowed her eyes. "That sounds nice, but this isn't a college debate club. This is television." Karoline nodded. "I know. That's why it matters." The moderator shifted, clearly uncomfortable. "Let's keep this civil." "It is civil," Karoline said without turning. "I'm not insulting her. I'm questioning the impact." Joy raised an eyebrow. "Impact?" "Yes," Karoline replied. "When you reduce people to caricatures, when you mock instead of engage, you shape how millions of viewers see anyone who disagrees with you." Joy crossed her arms. "So now I'm responsible for how people think." "You're responsible for how you frame the conversation," Karoline said. "That's different." Joy scoffed again, but it sounded thinner now. "You conservatives love pretending you're the real victims." Karoline took a breath. When she spoke again, her tone changed. Not sharper, but firmer. "This isn't about conservatives," she said. "It's about whether disagreement automatically deserves ridicule." She paused, letting the point settle. "You joke about people you've never met. You dismiss entire communities with a sentence, and then you say it's just comedy when someone pushes back." Joy opened her mouth, then closed it. The audience noticed. "You want to know the problem?" Karoline continued. "Comedy punches up when it challenges power. It punches down when it dismisses people who don't have your platform." A murmur moved through the studio. Not approval, recognition. Joy leaned forward now, defensive. "I've been criticized from every direction for decades. Don't tell me I don't know how power works." "I'm not," Karoline said. "I'm saying you're used to having the last word." Joy smiled tightly. "And you're here to take it?" "No," Karoline replied. "I'm here to say you don't always deserve it." That landed. The moderator finally stepped in. "All right, let's—" Joy waved him off. "No, no, I want to hear this." She turned back to Karoline. "So what's your solution? Less jokes? More lectures?" Karoline shook her head. "More honesty." Joy laughed again, but this time there was no edge. "That's vague." "Then let me be specific," Karoline said. She leaned forward, mirroring Joy's posture from earlier. "You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to like me. But when you talk about people who disagree with you, stop acting like they're stupid, evil, or unserious by default." Joy's expression hardened. "And if I don't?" Karoline met her gaze. "Then more people will stop listening. Not because they disagree with you, but because they don't feel respected." For a split second, Joy looked genuinely uncertain. Then she straightened. "You think respect is what gets ratings?" Karoline answered instantly. "No, but it's what keeps credibility." Silence again. The camera lingered longer than usual. No cutaways, no graphics. Just two women staring at each other across a table that suddenly felt much smaller. Joy broke eye contact first. "Well," she said lightly, forcing a smile, "agree to disagree." Karoline nodded. "Of course." Then she added quietly but clearly, "Just don't confuse disagreement with something to laugh at." The moderator exhaled. "We'll be right back." As the lights dimmed for commercial, the audience buzzed, not with applause, but with conversation. Joy looked down at her notes, jaw tight. Karoline sat back, calm. She hadn't raised her voice, she hadn't insulted anyone, but she had drawn a line, and for the first time that night, Joy Behar hadn't crossed it. When the cameras came back on, Joy Behar tried a different approach. She smiled wider this time, lighter, almost friendly. "All right," she said, palms up. "Let's reset. No one's being mocked here. We're just talking." The audience gave a polite chuckle. The tension hadn't disappeared, but it had shifted. Karoline noticed immediately. "That sounds reasonable," she replied. "But tone matters just as much as words." Joy tilted her head. "So now we're policing tone?" "No," Karoline said. "We're acknowledging patterns." Joy leaned back in her chair, crossing one leg over the other. "Patterns like what?" Karoline didn't rush the answer. "Like when a serious question comes up," she said, "and it's met with a punchline instead of a response." Joy smiled. "That's television." Karoline nodded. "That's exactly my point." The moderator glanced between them but stayed quiet. He could feel it, too. The audience wasn't waiting for a laugh anymore. They were waiting for clarity. Joy tried again. "Look, humor helps people digest hard truths." "Sometimes," Karoline agreed. "But sometimes it helps people avoid them." A ripple moved through the crowd. Joy's smile faded just a bit. "You're acting like jokes are a shield." "They can be," Karoline said, "especially when the joke always points in one direction." Joy raised an eyebrow. "You think I only punch one way?" "I think the people watching can answer that for themselves," Karoline replied. That was the moment the room leaned in. Joy laughed softly, shaking her head. "You're very confident for someone new to the spotlight." Karoline met her gaze. "Confidence isn't new to me. I just haven't had a studio audience before." That earned a reaction. Half laughter, half surprise. Joy paused. "So what? You want me to stop joking altogether?" "No," Karoline said. "I want you to stop pretending every criticism is a joke after the fact." Joy's fingers tightened around her cue cards. "You say something cutting," Karoline continued. "People push back, and suddenly it's, 'Relax, it was comedy.' That's not fair engagement." Joy exhaled sharply. "You really think I'm being unfair?" "I think you're being selective," Karoline answered, "and I think viewers notice more than you expect." For the first time, Joy didn't interrupt. The moderator finally stepped in. "Joy, do you want to respond?" Joy looked at Karoline, then at the camera. "I've been doing this a long time," she said carefully, "and I've seen a lot of outrage come and go." Karoline nodded. "This isn't outrage." "What is it then?" Joy asked. "Accountability," Karoline said. "Without anger, without shouting." Silence followed, heavier than before. Joy tried to laugh it off, but it didn't carry. "You're really not letting this go, are you?" Karoline smiled slightly. "No, because people at home don't get to change the channel when they're the ones being talked about." The audience murmured again, low, thoughtful. Joy glanced toward the moderator, then back to Karoline. "You're serious about this?" "Yes," Karoline said simply. Joy nodded once. "All right." She shuffled her notes, then looked up. "Then let's be serious." The crowd felt it instantly. The jokes were gone, the safety net was gone, and Joy Behar was about to have a conversation she couldn't laugh her way out of. The room felt different once Joy said, "Then let's be serious." There was no applause, no laugh track to soften the edges, just the quiet hum of studio lights and a crowd that suddenly realized this wasn't going to be entertainment anymore. Joy straightened in her chair. "You're saying people like me don't listen." "I'm saying people feel dismissed," Karoline replied. "There's a difference." Joy folded her arms. "Dismissed how?" "By being reduced to a stereotype," Karoline said. "By being talked about instead of talked to." Joy let out a slow breath. "You think I don't take people seriously?" "I think you decide who deserves seriousness," Karoline answered. The audience shifted. Someone coughed. No one laughed. Joy leaned forward. "You came on this show knowing what it is." "Yes," Karoline said, "and I also came on knowing what it could be." Joy smirked. "Idealistic." "Respectful," Karoline corrected. Joy tapped her cue cards against the desk. You know, people tune in to laugh. And people tune out when they feel mocked, Karoline said calmly. That landed harder than any punchline. Joy glanced at the moderator again, as if expecting rescue. He stayed silent. So what do you want from me? Joy asked. Honesty, Karoline said, without the fallback. Joy raised an eyebrow. Fallback? The moment when criticism gets uncomfortable, Karoline explained, and suddenly it's, I'm just joking. Joy's lips pressed together. You can disagree, Karoline continued. You can debate. You can even be sharp, but don't pretend words don't matter the second they hit. For a